Hello everyone and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Update. Slight change of format this week. There will be no Ben 10. Instead, we're covering both sets of press conferences in two parts. Yesterday's video went live on Thursday covering all of those press conferences, and then today we cover the main talking points from the likes of Manchester United, City, Liverpool and Chelsea, etc. Before we do touch upon that, a couple of mock-ups. Burnley, that was a late one from Sean Dyche yesterday, 3:30. Of course, those are one of the teams we may look to target because they have a double game week. Only one player who's likely to be back under consideration from Sean Dyche, and that would be Matai Vidra, and that mightn't even make the City game. It's probably more likely for Everton, but the likes of Ben Mee will remain sidelined, and of course with Nathan Collins suspended, an outside chance, if you want a massive differential, Kevin Long could come in for his first Premier League appearance of the season. And also Brighton, Robert Sanchez, I've had a few questions today. His withdrawal from the Spanish squad was due to personal reasons, and that wasn't injury or illness related, so he has been training down and on the south coast and he's absolutely fine. But back to Friday's roundup, we heard from Eddie Howe first thing, and a mixed injury update. I'll start with the big headliners. Kieran Trippier, he's set for a scan today on his foot. Now if he's got a green light to step up his recovery, then Eddie Howe expects him to transition from that training into first team contention fairly quickly. What we're talking about, maybe a couple of weeks, so mid to late April for him. However, the bad news, Callum Wilson, we did see him running out on a warm weather training camp in Dubai. However, he hasn't responded as hoped. It's not going to be as quick as Trippier. Now, Eddie Howe wouldn't commit on whether the player would be back this season or not. He's hopeful, he keeps his fingers crossed, and it remains to be seen. So like I say, that one's a little bit up in the air at the moment, but there was good news with regards to Federico Fernandez, bleep problem, fit and available. John Joe Shelby, he's recovered from a virus, although he hasn't taken part in all training sessions, so maybe his involvement and his minutes will come from the bench. Elsewhere, Fabian Schär released from the Swiss squad due to an ongoing groin problem. He has taken part in at least a couple of sessions. Martin Dubravka, initially reported as angina, as we thought, and as I said, it's a virus, so he was back with the group also on Thursday. Elsewhere within the group, there's a lot going on in there. Isaac Hayden, we know, and Jamal Lewis, they're both responding really well, but neither of those players are involved in the matchday squad. We've heard from Dean Smith at Norwich. Again, lots going on there. It looks like Ozan Kabak may not play again from the club. Of course, he's on a season-long loan from Schalke 04. Now, Kabak suffered a serious, or what looks to be a long-term hamstring problem playing against Italy for Turkey. He stayed in Turkey for the moment, and conversations are going on between Norwich and Schalke, but it may be, like I say, he won't feature for the Canaries once again. Elsewhere within that Norwich team, Brandon Williams and also Max Aarons, they both picked up injuries against Leeds. Now, Brandon Williams has returned to the training pitches, but Dean Smith believes that the game may come too soon. And Max Aarons, he had been progressing well, but he's missed the last few sessions because of illness, and therefore there's huge question marks over the pair of them. Johnny Ulis and maybe Sam Byron are the players who could come in on opposite sides of the flanks. Christoph Zimmermann, he's fine after recovering from an eye infection. Josh Sargent, he rolled his ankle in training on Tuesday, and subsequently we've seen images of him in a protective cast. However, that was more of a precautionary measure, and he still has a chance of making the squad, so he'll have a fitness test on Friday. Adam Ida and Adrian Otabelli, they're the two players that we know are probably out for the rest of the season. Certainly Adam Ida is. He had surgery on a meniscus problem. For Liverpool, great news with regards to Trent Alexander-Arnold. He took part in aspects of training on Thursday, and he'll be fully integrated on Friday. Now, Jurgen Klopp said it's not impossible for him to be involved. It certainly won't be a fitness issue. There's no question mark with regards to that. It's more about his rhythm. So I do expect Trent to be in and around that matchday squad, and I do actually have him in my starting 11. James Milner is over a virus. The one big question mark at the moment is Naby Keita. Released from international duty because of a knee injury. Started training again at the Axon Training Centre, suffered a little bit of reaction. He was out of training on Thursday, and he would be assessed again on Friday. So like I say, big question marks over him. If he can't be involved, then he certainly won't be included in the match team squad that faces Watford. And like I say, with Klopp and almost a fully fit Liverpool team, he may not want to take any risks. For Tottenham, Ryan Sessegnon and Oliver Skipp, both of those players responding really well to treatment, working on an individual training program. At the moment, Sessegnon hamstring, Skipp a problematic groin issue. However, they could return and rejoin the group from next week. So maybe game week 33, realistically, for first team contention for them. So good news on that front. West Ham United, David Moyes, always very coy with his injury updates, doesn't like to give too much away. But Vladimir Soufal and Jared Bowen have been taking part in training over the international break, and therefore they have a chance of being involved. Now, what David Moyes said was, we have to sort of weigh up the pros and the cons, the risk and the reward, whether to involve them from the start or not. But the caveat to that is, they're in a position where West Ham need to win games, and both of those players, certainly Bowen, is a big player and he's been in great form. So it remains to be seen. I expect both to make the match day squad. Manuel Lanzini, just to note, had a bit of a car crash. I think the car rolled down a ditch. No serious injuries, thankfully, but the player is feeling a little bit sore. But like I say, nothing to suggest that he won't make this one. For Manchester United, reported earlier on in the week that Edison Cavani had picked up a calf problem, playing on international duty. That forced him off in and around that 30-minute mark. Now, that calf injury is likely to keep him out for a couple more weeks, unfortunately. So his injury-hampered season continues. For Manchester City, Ruben Dias, there was some suggestion that the centre-back could have an outside chance of returning this weekend. That's certainly not going to be the case. His initial timeline from the club, which was 4 to 6 weeks, is basically bang on. We're 4-week point as it stands, and Pep believes that it's going to be another 10 to 14 days before he comes back into contention. Cole Palmer is the only other absentee. That means John Stones is fine, and he should partner Aymeric Laporte at the heart of defence, and also Edison. He's okay for that number 1 spot. Of course, he was released from international duty for what local media reports suggested was gastroenteritis. At Chelsea, again, another good positive update from Thomas Tuchel, where Reece James has trained fine. Andreas Christensen also back in contention. However, there are concerns with regards to the availability of Christian Pulisic. He's returned late from international duty. He's reporting a little bit of jet lag, training individually at the moment. And again, it's going to be one of those risk and rewards, whether he takes a chance on involving or he holds him back, just given, like I say, that involvement in that travel. No such issues with Thiago Silva. He's absolutely fine. He actually returned a day earlier, so he will be okay. The injury absentees as they currently stand, Ben Chilwell, ACL, we know is out for the season, but also Callum Hudson-Odoi, that Achilles issue, that problematic injury that's been happening for a while, continues to do so, and also he's having lower back problems as well. So those two out of contention, but Saul Niguez and Kepa, who missed the Middlesbrough game, I think it was, due to virus, they're all fine and back in contention. For Everton, we have seen Fabian Delph back on the training pitches at Finch Farm this week, but Frank Lampard believes it's going to be at least another 7 to 10 days realistically before he's back in first team contention. Yerry Mina, obviously massive player, pivotal in that backline, that Everton backline. He has started light training, but we're looking at probably maybe 14, possibly 21 days for him. There've been a number of soft tissue hamstring problems, so he does need to be managed really, really carefully with that. Elsewhere, we know that Alan is suspended, but Donny van de Beek and Asmir Begovic, they've both recovered from illness. Andros Townsend is sidelined for the remainder of the campaign and possibly even the rest of the year after going reconstructive surgery to repair an ACL. For Brentford, Christian Eriksen returned for his national team midweek, so he's over his recent COVID absence. And Thomas Frank has already confirmed, no surprise, that Christian Eriksen will start this weekend. Josh Da Silva, he was due to return from a 3-match absence. Of course, he was dismissed against Newcastle, but he has picked up a hamstring problem in training. Elsewhere, the Bees are basically, as you were, pretty much fit and raring to go. And finally, Wolves, Nelson Semedo, he's been out for the last month with a hamstring problem. Bruno Lage will make a call on the player whether he believes he's fit enough to be involved in that squad. We do know that Raul Jimenez is out for the next 2. He was dismissed against Leeds. And of course, even though it was 2 yellow cards, that's his second dismissal of the season. And that's why it's the 2 and not the 1-match ban. And also Ruben Neves, there was no specific mention by the manager on Friday afternoon, but he is sidelined with an MCL, a medial collateral knee ligament problem that forced him off during the early exchanges of that Leeds game. And that's probably going to keep him out for in and around maybe 5 to 6 weeks. So we're looking at some point in May for that, hopefully a return before the end of the season. Now, if we get a chance, we will go live with a Q&A to get your questions across. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that can happen. It's up to the main man, Jason McKenna, if we can fit around his schedule. Otherwise, like I say, please make sure you check out premierinjuries.com. That table is updated throughout up until the deadline. And of course, you will see the link for part 1 for any injuries that we haven't covered. And if there's still something that's nagging away and you need the answer to, either pop it in the comments box below or use @Ben Dinnery for Twitter. And I'm checking my timeline as often as I can to answer your questions. So that's it for now. Good luck. Hope you all have a green arrow, and we'll see you again very soon.